Yes. Okay. Le Tour du Monde in Quatre-Vingts Jour is a story about a man so bored with his life that he may rob a bank, definitely beats up a priest, and travels around the world while learning nothing about the cultures that inhabit it. Still, this mindless romp has delighted readers for over a century, proving there is perhaps no better vacation than the one we give our brains. The Traveler? Phileas Fogg. The book? Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. And you're listening to Lit Society. Let's get lit. Hey y'all, this is Carrie. And you're listening to Lit Society, a show about books and drama. Alexis. Hi.
I haven't seen you.
Is there anything you wanted to share? How you been? What's up?
Don't be asking now. I had spent some time with a friend outside the house. So how about that?
Hey, that's great. That's wonderful. What y'all do? You want to share?
We went out to a restaurant in Chicago.
Like downtown? What neighborhood?
Yeah, downtown. River
North?
What? River North.
So you was really downtown?
Well, not where I work. I work in River North, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like a happy hour
not that
thing?
Big a deal. Yeah, no, they came from out here and we just went to dinner for 7:00. I haven't seen them in a long time. So
I love that.
We go. Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
how about you, Kari? You want to share something about yourself? Yes, please. Share information with our listeners. Tell them how you're doing. They want to know.
Yeah. I went back to the gym, you guys. It feels great in my body. I'm very paranoid. We do have to wear masks, so it is what it is. And then I bought this projector and screen and little sound system. So I've been hosting.
That's what that is.
Yeah, you see it in the back. We have little theater nights at our house. You're welcome to come for a little cinema night.
You be having a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, so last week I invited you and you was like, I'll be there. And I was like, just so you know, 4 more people are coming. You were like, pass.
You see how people just set you up for the okie doke. But I'm working on that. Mentally, I'm working on that.
Now let's move on to our theme of the week. Each week, readers, we choose a theme to discuss that is inspired by the book we're reading. And this week, the theme is how to safely travel right now during a pandemic. Alexis, did you know the pandemic isn't over? Are you as shocked as I was to read that?
Nope, I wasn't shocked.
Well, listen, we're going to tell you how to travel safely. And I've harvested some information from the CDC and Mayo Clinic.
And you've done it. You've got some experience at it too, right?
I was going to ask you, have you been traveling during the pandemic?
I have traveled to the train station to work, and that's because I'm required to, and I got to pay some bills. But outside of that, I don't travel nowhere.
Traveling and by train, y'all, she mean the CTA, the subway, the elevated train here in Chicago. That's definitely more scary than traveling by plane. No, for real. You're coming into contact with more people. They're all filthy except you. I be feeling like I'm the only person on the train that wash every day and wash my legs.
It feel like that. It do. Not wash your legs.
So it's an experience, but
it is. You come home with a layer of stench on you that is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's insane. Or it feels that way anyway. So how do you travel right now safely during a pandemic? Again, these tips are foolproof, especially the first. So let's get down to it. Number 1, don't travel, you guys. Stay home.
I was ready to participate. I was like, maybe this will help me. Yes, maybe this is what I need.
All I can do is tell you what works, and don't nothing work like not traveling.
If that's the top of the list, I got you.
But staycations are cool, you know. Be as isolated as possible and masked up when in a crowd. Avoid crowds, though, like the plague if you can, because of the plague, you know. Save all your money and all the money you're not using to travel abroad. Save it up and buy nothing right now because everything is way too expensive. There are shortages all over the place. I went into Lush to just get some cute soaps. They was like, sorry, we ran out of soap, COVID. And I was like, that's still a thing.
But we still got to wash up.
I know. We're going to have to take some chicken fat like the old days and make a bar out of it. I don't know. There's a house in our neighborhood we have been eyeing. That house has went up $75,000 in a matter of 6 months. For why? For demand. There's no reason for it. So, so I implore you all to make use of Zoom. Continue to do it. Yes, we're over it. All of us are over it. You ain't the only one. Call up your loved ones who live in other countries, other states. Keep connected. So that is the number one way to stay safe while traveling.
I love it.
But if you hard-headed like me, you gonna need something else because you ain't gonna do that. So number 2, if you insist, evidence seems to prove that the vaccine is a necessary travel companion. Now, Alexis, are we saying everyone listening should go get vaccinated?
No.
We're not. It's your choice. However, if you are choosing not to get vaccinated, but you hopping on that plane, you know you're right. You don't stay home. Please see tip number 1. According to the CDC, to maximize protection from the Delta variant and prevent possibly spreading it to others, get vaccinated as soon as you can and wear a mask indoors in public if you are in an area of substantial or high transmission.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are they speaking about the other variants out there as well?
No, they're only speaking of Delta. Yeah, I think that's a glaring omission. So, you know, that's why number 1. But if you gonna go, because you hard-headed, everyone's very elusive on what these vaccines can do, you guys. Everyone's like, go get the vaccine or you're a terrible person. But they're also like, we don't really know what the vaccine do. So do get it if you want. Now, I got it because I like to do what everyone's doing. No, I got it because most of the people, and by most, I mean, the numbers I saw were 85 to 99% of people hospitalized or who unfortunately lose their life because of COVID were not vaccinated. Now, those numbers are now 2 months old, but that encouraged me to get the vaccination. I will say if you plan to stay inside for possibly the rest of your life, you know, no pressure. But if you're going to be around people, do know that if Sally Q, who's sitting next to you on the plane, has not been vaccinated, you are vaccinated, you're wearing a mask, but she's not because she's also against masks, even though she's also against the vaccine. She's just against. Then you could possibly give Sally Sue a disease that you don't even know you carry. And what if Sally Sue dies? Yeah, I mean, you could say it'd be her fault, but where'd she get it from? She got it from you. So, you know, wear your mask. Do what you can. No vaccines are 100% effective. Alexis brought this to my attention. People get flu shots every year. Not me, though. But I also get the flu every year. Actually, I don't because I've been wearing my mask.
So you didn't get it last year because you've been wearing a mask.
Yeah, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I have to state that. However, I don't really trust vaccines like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm an anti-vaxxer, but listen, I think that, nothing is foolproof. So if you were to get the flu shot and you got the flu, that can happen. You're not shocked, right? Now me, when I don't get the flu shot and I get the flu every year, I am shocked because I'm like, but I didn't get the flu shot. How did I get sick? My thinking is all type of backwards. But as far as COVID is concerned, if you are insisting on traveling, evidence proves, at least the evidence available to us, that vaccines are the way to go. Do you read Travel Noir?
Every time I get an article notice, I think I got them their email list or something, or I follow them and I link that. So
okay, yeah, cool. So same with me. Travel Noir is a website geared toward travel for like Black people throughout the diaspora. It's not just Black Americans. And it talks about certain news articles, things you might want to be aware of. It talks about expats living in other countries who are Black. It's like a really great resource for Black travelers. And one article that comes to mind is a family who traveled to Mexico. Did you hear about that? Got COVID. They tested for COVID on their way in, because if you don't have the vaccine, you have to test before re-entering the U.S. The wife and daughter didn't have it, so they had to leave the dad, and he was there really, really sick. He didn't have enough like cash flow to get health care, and they told him they wouldn't care for him. They finally decided to like put him on a bus with other people, even though he knew he had it and he was really, really sick.
In Mexico?
Yeah, to bring him back over. And now I believe he's being treated in Louisiana. I think they even had a GoFundMe to sponsor him coming back. And that's when people really got involved. Like, you want money from me, but y'all were traveling knowing you're not vaccinated. You got COVID, and now you're getting on the bus with other people and putting other people's lives in jeopardy. Which I see. And then the counter to that was, well, they're people and they need health care. Who cares about what the circumstances are? They are people and they need health care in this specific situation. So it's a lot of thoughts out there.
Across the board on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. But the point remains that evidence seems to prove if you're going to travel. Now, they weren't in Mexico for, something that they had to do. It was for vacation. If you're choosing to still vacation, especially in other countries, then why not give that vaccine a second glance? Number 3, wear a mask over your nose and mouth while in public. That's right. Wearing it over your chin. Come on, you guys. Are we still doing this? Stop. If this isn't mandated... Huh?
What about just covering your mouth and your nose?
Stop. We don't want to talk about it no more. I'm so sick of people like, why I got to wear my mask over my nose if it's over my mouth? Stupid. Come on, just do it, okay? Even if it's not mandated in the area you're visiting, just wear a mask over your nose and mouth in public areas. And remember, if you're vaccinated and the person next to you is not, there's still a chance you will pass the virus to them. Would you go out in the street and kill someone with a gun? No, don't do it with COVID. That didn't make sense. Number 4, avoid crowds. Keep social distancing and washing your hands frequently. Okay? All those things. Avoid crowds. Keep social distancing and wash your hands frequently. Keep doing that even while you're traveling. Number 5, if traveling by car, try not to stop often for food and gas. It's not going to be a real comfortable trip, you guys. Pack food. Yes, pack it. Them old sandwiches, put them on ice. And plan ahead to make as few pit stops as possible.
Really?
Yes.
So I was thinking, I was trying to work myself up to get away, right? And I wanted to do this last year, but, my mental status got the better of me. I want to just go away to a hotel or wanted to go to a cabin, but that wasn't working.
That sounds cool.
I felt like I could do that and do it successfully. Like, just take a nice ride, maybe over to the next state over, and, just go by myself and try to be out a little bit. But you're saying if I do that, I should not pull over and go to a rest stop or don't stop. If I can help it, just get gas and keep it moving.
So let's just be frank with each other, guys. Rest stops are disgusting. Gas stations are disgusting. There's a lot of fecal matter on everything. And when you are touching things that other transients have touched, just know it's like you're touching their toilet paper after they've used the restroom. If you were to take a sample from a gas pump and do a test on it, I guarantee you it is covered in poo. So when you think about that, you just don't want to put yourself in a situation to be around this excess of excrement and potential disease. That's all. Now, when you get to where you're going, gas stations are gross. So, perhaps wear some gloves when you inevitably have to get gas. But when it comes to actual restaurants, you can then choose to sit outside, maybe do a picnic, and a cabin is still very isolated. Or even a hotel where you're not in the main area constantly, that still sounds like a wonderful trip. There's always a risk, but it sounds like the risk can be mitigated in that case.
Yeah. That sounds disgusting. I'm gonna stay in my apartment. Thank you.
Yeah, you take the train every day. Okay, number 6. If traveling by air, know that most viruses cannot spread readily on a plane because of the way the air is circulated on the plane. However, keeping your distance is also nearly impossible.
Impossible.
On the plane or in the airport. So here are some tips. Number 1, fly first class. It's more space. A good airline, there's no one to the left or right of you. They might even have these little hoods for you to put over your seat. Do it, you guys. B, take advantage of the airport lounge. Does your credit card offer a lounge? Check. Because that will get you out of Gen Pop even more while you're waiting for your flight. And C, seriously.
Gen Pop. Okay.
Seriously, you guys, try to secure a flight with the least amount of layovers so that you're exposed to the least amount of travelers. D, avoid touching your face. And E, try to go the entire flight without eating or drinking. Oh, can I tell you? So my flight routines, I adore. I put on my noise canceling headphones. I wipe off my seat. Yes, in that order. Everybody gotta wait till I put my headphones on and get my little boom, baba, doom, ba, whatever spa music I'm playing. Then I wipe off my seat, disinfect it. I have a little Korean face mask I put on. I be looking crazy. I feel like I'm at the spa. It's nice. And then when your flight lands, you just lift it up and your skin be all soft and stuff. I order an old fashioned. Why? Because I eat the airline food because I paid for it. Yes, nasty and it's gonna make my feet swell up. I'm gonna eat it though. Also, I order one more drink, probably the old fashioned, and I just sit back, maybe read a book. It's nice. To me, being on the plane is like being in your own personal spa act, like no one is there with me and it's fun. Can't do that. Cannot do that anymore.
I've traveled with you before and that you do. You shut everybody out, like knowing that you're not traveling with companions. Also, okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so unfortunately, it looks like we will have to not order those drinks, which airlines aren't even serving because people are getting in fights on planes for no reason.
I heard that.
And they was like, maybe it's the alcohol. We're going to stop serving y'all. So, and the food nasty anyway. Huh?
They drinking before they get on.
Yeah. And yeah, you can't stop people. So whatever. But I do have like I think it's a 10-hour flight coming up. It's going to be torturous. I got a couple books I'm going to bring. I might have to sip a straw under that mask. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know. Even hot tea. I usually like to bring a tea bag and ask for hot water. Don't drink plain water, but I do. But it's gross. Don't do it. Can't even really do that. Can't.
So you could get one of those masks with a straw insert.
Those are silly. No, don't do that, you guys.
You could do that.
Yes, you could.
The air is recirculated. Didn't we already discuss that?
Okay. I got 2 more. 7, accommodations. This is back to what you said. It's best to stay with a friend who you know is also vaccinated. But if you're going to stay in a hotel, avoid common areas. And whatever you do, avoid hostels. Have you ever stayed in a hostel?
No.
I did in Miami, South Beach, but it was like luxurious. And you can actually see that on my Instagram, Chicagoings. But it is called like the generator in Miami, South Beach. It was like a luxury hotel, but it was technically a hostel. Stay away from those. There are a lot of people walking in and out, very interesting people you might want to spark up a conversation with, like I like to do. I'm the weirdo at the hostel talking to everyone, asking if they're a writer. But that life is over. And 8, lastly, eating. Eat outside as much as possible. We did say this already. Even opting for a picnic in some cases. And don't eat at buffets like ever. Like before or after COVID, why are buffets still around? Again, fecal matter gas station, see 5 minutes earlier. And then lastly, I just want to add, check the restrictions of your destination well before traveling. And then as you get closer to your departure date, because perhaps there are some health portals that you can use, some forms you can fill out beforehand to make your departure a lot easier. And you might even be able to get into a system that displays your vaccination status. And then you can just show that at the airport if they take it at your destination.
Are they
taking? You don't have to worry about quarantine.
Are they taking, is there like a form? Do you have to prove that you're vaccinated? Is that card effective?
Yeah, I would say take your card with you everywhere, but the card is so unofficial.
But is that what airlines are taking?
No, there are two systems that come to mind. I can tell you what they are right now. Okay, so Clear is one of them, and not Clear at the airport. You can use Clear to bypass TSA. This is a different Clear. There are like a million companies called Clear. I don't know why. But Clear is a partner that some states are using where like Hawaii comes to mind, and you can upload your testing there. So if you're vaccinated, you still have to get tested for COVID before you fly, usually 72 hours beforehand. And perhaps you want that
to get
test.
tested?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, even if you're vaccinated, you have to be tested.
I mean, for the areas I'm traveling to this year, perhaps it's different by state or country, but yeah. And then there's another company or partner called Common Pass. That's one word, Common Pass. And they'll also upload your test results to something that airlines accept. Or I've like heard of My Chart also, but I don't know if an airline or state is accepting COVID test results from that partner. So yeah, check on the state's website, the travel bureau for the state or the country you're traveling to.
Interesting.
And they'll give you some direction, because you don't want to get anywhere and be quarantined, or, you know, hopefully this won't happen, but get sick and not know what to do. And, you know, travel insurance. Yeah, that's good for both canceling flights and sometimes caring for yourself when you're away. And that's all I got. What about you, Alexis? Are you traveling this year?
No, just that idea of a trip. My brother-in-law invited me, and I was like, I said it initially, I was like, yeah, I think I can do it. I'm just going to try that.
I think you can too.
But I couldn't do it. I had to cancel.
Oh.
And then let me just add that with my allergies and asthma acting up, that's my respiratory system. So
yeah.
I feel like I put myself in a position to welcome any disease that comes along if I do that.
And
I just don't want to set myself up for that. So
yeah,
I think I'm just stay put and listen to everybody tell me their stories about where they traveled. And
hopefully you can watch my cat, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, you're not taking a cat? When are you going to start taking her with you on these vacations?
All right, then. Anything else? Well, let's move on and dive into our book. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Give us some context around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne, and perhaps his motivation for the book.
Okay, so listen. Jules Verne was born in 1828 and he died in 1905. He was a French novelist, poet, and playwright. And he had a collaboration with a man by the name of Pierre-Jules Hetzel, which led to the creation of Voyages Extraordinaire. And this is a collection of 54 novels that include stories like Journey to the Center of the Earth, which was published in 1864, 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas, which was published in 1870, and the book we're covering today, Around the World in 80 Days, which was published in 1872. Jules Verne is the second most translated author in the world since 1979, and he falls between two very popular authors. And Kari, can you guess who they are?
Yes. Agatha Christie and William Shakespeare.
Absolutely, Little Red Riding Hood. Um, yeah, so Jules has been writing since his teens. His father wanted him to go into law. He did go to law and kind of graduate, but he didn't really want to do law. He wanted to write. He's been writing since his teens. He met Alexander Dumas. Do you remember him?
Yeah. The Three Musketeers and Monte Cristo. He's Black Rider, Creole, I think. Yeah.
Well, they became fast friends and they produced some works together. But yeah, and it kept writing. Through that, he eventually met Hetzel. Remember, I mentioned him earlier. And that relationship with Hetzel allowed him to have a regular pay, a contracted work. So Hetzel wanted to start a high-quality family magazine that combined entertaining fiction with scientific education. And Verne had already demonstrated, he submitted a piece of his work, that he himself was one who scrupulously researched his adventure stories. And so that led to the contract. And they had this contract that produced, like I said, 54 books. And Hetzel would buy his stories, buy Verne's stories outright for a flat fee. So that initially when he wrote these stories, they went right to the magazine without being published. He would later then publish them as novels. Late in his life, Verne confirmed that this commission of writing had become the running theme of his novels. And he said, "My object has been to depict the earth, and not the earth alone, but the universe." And that's all I'm going to share about Jules Verne. Kara, do you have anything you want to share about our author?
Nope. I thought it was a woman. I just learned it wasn't like a year ago.
Oh, okay. Well, that's wonderful. That's all I'm going to share about that.
Okay. Okay. Well, can you give us a brief synopsis on the book without spoilers?
Phileas Fogg, quiet and wealthy Englishman, living modestly by the clock and minding his business, wagers £20,000 with his fellow private club members that he could travel around the world in 80 days. Kari, who do you think would enjoy this book?
I forget the name of the books where these like nonsensical romps that the character goes through and things he must overcome. But if you like that kind of, Gulliver Travels-ish storyline where it's just like things happening and none of it really matters, but it's semi-entertaining, then you would love this book. And what about you, Alexis? What were your first thoughts of Around the World in 80 Days?
This was one of our book club selections some time ago. And I had heard of this before as a movie. So
yeah, a real life book club that we're a part of outside of Lit Society. Yeah.
So I was excited to read the book. I heard, like I said, I heard of the movie, but I never saw the movie. And then when I always saw the book or the movie, I always thought it was about a man in a balloon for 80 days. So
is there a balloon in this book?
Yeah, there's a balloon in the book.
I missed it. Okay. No, I remember now.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Do you?
Now let's take a deep dive into Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. Please, Alexis, take it away.
Oh, Kara, you're really showing off here, and I'm offended by your show off stuff, okay? Anyway, Phileas Fogg, he's a polished man of the world of about 40, Don't nobody know what he do. Nobody know what he do. But he is wealthy, y'all. There's no public employment, the book says. He wasn't a part of any secular or ecclesiastical clubs or societies, but he is a member of the Reform Club, which is a gentleman's club where they speak about progressive political ideas. Like I said, nobody knew how he made his fortune. He was mysterious, generous, and quiet. His daily habits were exactly the same every day. He was also very knowledgeable. He would use very few words to correct his fellow members. His pastimes were reading the papers and playing whist. He often won at that game and reserved the winnings for his charity fund. But he didn't play whist to win. He just liked playing for the fun of it. And whist has a little gambling in it. So Phileas lives with no family. No family. He just has one domestic, which was enough to cover his needs. And this domestic that he has currently, was required to be superhumanly prompt and regular. However, on October 2nd, he fired this domestic. And why
was that?
Because he brought Phileas shaving water that was 84 degrees instead of 86 degrees.
Out of here.
Yeah. So on that day, he was waiting for his new domestic to arrive. Enter Jean Passepartout. Passepartout. And he's a man of about 30. And let me just say, Phileas Fogg is a nice looking man. Okay.
Passepartout is not.
Would they say he's not nice looking? Okay.
Yeah, he like kind of dwarfy, clownian character. Maybe
okay.
That's how I saw him in my mind.
Okay. Well, anyway, Passepartout came for the job. You know, the domestic is leaving, right? So here's Passepartout. He's going to take this job. Okay. His prior experience included being a traveling singer, a circus rider where he vaulted and danced on the ropes. He was a professor of gymnastics, a sergeant fireman. He just did a lot of stuff. He was moving and shaking. He wasn't just sitting around. He was exploring the world. So at this point in his life, he's decided, I'm going to take on some domestic work because I just want to relax now. I just want to take it easy. So he traveled to England to serve as a valet. So like I said, having moved around quite a bit, he was like, Phileas Fogg would be ideal because his life is very structured and I don't have to go anywhere. And we already know that Phileas Fogg doesn't go anywhere. So I can do this.
Passepartout's goal is to basically retire while still working.
Yeah.
So he is a character that if he was of any other ethnic background, it would be crazy offensive because he is the stereotypes of all races put into a French man inexplicably. And he is like, I am sick of these unexpected tasks and assignments. I want someone who lives by a routine and who, I can basically just sleepwalk until I'm done.
And he found the right job for that. That was going to happen. He did. So he get there. Phileas Fogg is like, what's your name? What you do? Okay. All right. I got you. Let's synchronize our watches. Phileas told Passepartout his watch was 4 minutes behind, 4 minutes short. Okay. Passepartout was like, that's impossible. Okay. And Phileas said, don't matter. It's enough to mention the area, but it don't matter. For the moment, you are now in my service. So Phileas's regular schedule is to go to the club, Reform Club, and he stay there until midnight, then come home and go to bed. Like that's his life.
Oh, not that kind of club.
Oh, no. Oh, no, not that kind of club.
A gentleman's club where they just sit around and play card games.
That's right. So he had the
anything
Reform
to avoid
Club.
Going home to their wives.
Except Phileas ain't got no wife, okay? He had the Reform Club and he's joined by his rich and highly respectable friends, and they're discussing a recent robbery. Skillful detectives have been sent out to the principal ports of America and the continent to find this thief because he made off with 50,000 pounds. So 3 days before, the Bank of England was robbed and everybody was talking about it. The money had been taken from the principal cashier's table while he was assisting someone else. When 5 o'clock arrived, the money was reported missing. So, somebody helped back then. They would just leave the money out there on the table. Just
they was fooling.
Yeah. So you could just walk up and take some money. And so the description of him is that...
Because they thought it would be like an insult to the community to do anything that resembled security. So there's like a scene where someone walks up and wants to look at some jewels.
Yeah.
And then the person next to him want to look at it. And before you know it, it's them passed down like 10 people. But it comes back to the desk before the bank teller even returns. So the bank teller done walked away and was like, oh, okay. Everything's probably where it should be. Mm-hmm.
So the description of the robber, he's a well-dressed gentleman. He's polished. But, you know, he had walked away with this money. So they sent out the detectives, I said, and the reward for the detectives is £2,000 plus 5% of the amount that's recovered. Okay, so they got this description. Detectives are out there. They talking about it. They start playing this game of whist, and the conversation kind of continues. And one man said, huh?
Oh, I was just going to say bid whist. Go ahead.
The gentleman says, the thief is surely to get away. And another was like, how? The world is so big. It's big enough. And Phileas said, it was before, but not anymore. You could go around the world in like 10 times more quickly than 100 years ago. And one person says, in 3 months. Phileas said, in 80 days. And one of his friends said, that doesn't count for bad weather, contrary winds, shipwrecks, railway accidents, and so on. And Phileas said, all of that is included. He said, but what about the Hindus and the Indians? They could come and stop the train, scalp the passengers, pillage the luggage vans. He's like, all included. The man continued, theoretically, but practically. Phileas said, you could do it practically as well. Listen, the wager is presented. Listen. They said, bet £20,000 that you can't do this in 80 days. That's in 1,920 hours or 115,200 minutes. Can you do it? Phyllis like, a true Englishman don't joke about wagers, okay? Wagers is serious. So the wager is on. The journey around the world in 80 days, and it was about to begin. Phileas didn't see any need to wait. He was like, we're going to start this right away. There's a train that goes out tonight at 9:00. I'll be on it. The whole time this conversation is going on, Phileas is watching the game, playing the game. He's just really calm and laid back kind of guy. He watching
easy to underestimate
winning.
him.
Mm-hmm. So Phileas was to start the journey that evening, October 2nd, and he was to return by Saturday, December 21st, to the Reform Club. That there was that 9:00 train. Now they were like, Phileas, why don't we stop playing and then you can go get ready? He was like, no need. Let's finish our hand. Phileas left the club like 20 minutes later after having won 20 guineas at whist. He headed home, and when he arrived, Passepartout was surprised to see him. So Phileas was like, hey, Passepartout. He called him twice, and Passepartout is like, wait, it's not midnight. Who he talking to? But he was talking to him.
He wants to be on the time schedule.
Yes.
Nothing unexpected.
Boy, I mean, how would you feel if you took a job expecting it to be nice and easy, and then all of a sudden you told, pack up, we getting on a train tonight, we're going to travel around the world for 80 days.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, he got hit. He really did. So Phileas said, oh yeah, I understand why you're not responding. I don't blame you, but we are going to get on a train and leave in 10 minutes, okay? All right, get ready. Get my stuff. We're going around the world and we don't have a moment to lose. So they weren't taking any trunks. They took carpet bags, which included 2 shirts and 3 pairs of stockings for each person. And they would buy clothes along the way. He took shoes, a raincoat, and a traveling coat too. I don't know, but that's what he took. He also had another carpet bag that had 20,000 pounds in it, which Passepartout was to care for, because that's how they were going to kind of pay their expenses along this route. When they arrive at the train, there's a poor beggar woman with a child, and they kind of approach and ask for alms. And Phileas gives the woman the 20 guineas that he had just won, and Passepartout is touched by his generosity. When he gets to the station, his 5 friends are there to meet him and see him off. So the
That
fun,
have all bet against him, but they his friends.
but they felt bad about betting against him. They really felt like he was going to lose, like he didn't have a chance to win at all. So here's the itinerary. This is the original itinerary. Go to London, to Egypt, Suez, Egypt, by rail and steamer across the Mediterranean Sea in 7 days. Suez to Bombay, India, by steamer across the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean, 13 days. Bombay to Calcutta, India, by rail, 3 days. Calcutta to Victoria, Hong Kong, with a stopover in Singapore, by steamer across the South China Sea, 13 days. Hong Kong to Yokohama, Japan, steamer across the South China Sea, East China Sea, and the Pacific Ocean. That's 6 days. Yokohama to San Francisco, United States, by steamer across the Pacific Ocean, 22 days. That's a long trip. San Francisco to New York by rail, 7 days. New York to London, steamer across the Atlantic Ocean to Liverpool by rail, 9 days. That's a total of 80 days. Let's begin the journey.
Can I just say, you read this book 3 months ago?
Yes, ma'am.
You're doing pretty good, because I finished this book last week, and I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen, I'm just getting ready to say, I need your help. I need your help here.
Oh, you got it.
Nope, I don't have it.
All I know is they went on the trip, and they was trying to get around the world and seen.
No, this is where I need your help, which was my next words, because I need to know how they interacted. So I know when they go to Suez, all right, they reach there in time, and while disembarking to Egypt, they have this detective whose name is Detective Fix. He kind of finds them and IDs that Phileas Fogg is the actual robber that they've been searching for. He's like, you're it, and I'm going to get you. Let me reach out to my commanders and ask for a warrant to meet me at, I think he wanted to meet him at Bombay so I can arrest you.
Yeah, so there's some colonialism going on here. So he can only arrest him in England or a territory owned by England, which at this time includes Bombay. And so he feels like this whole traveling around the world in 80 days is a ruse to distract everyone from the fact that you have stole what sounds like quite a little bit of money. But I guess it's probably worth like a lot now, but it wasn't. It doesn't sound like a lot, but yeah. And I love how the names, I don't know if this was an intentional thing, but you know, Phileas Fogg is kind of like hazy in the way he interacts with people and talks about himself. Passport 2, it sounds like Passport. You know, he's like he keeps the story going. He is the one that initiates all of the romps in each country. And then you have Detective Fix, who is to fix the problem of the bank robber, which he is convinced is Phileas Fogg. And at this time, Passport 2 saw his master giving a woman some money, like you said. He's seeing all these good characteristics of Phileas, and he just thinks this is a great man he works for.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really just getting to know him. He's only heard information about how he lives. Now he's getting to see him in action. And like you said, so far he likes him. But he actually doesn't believe that he's going on this trip for a wager. He doesn't believe it.
Right.
Fix is out there. He's waiting to catch Phileas Fogg. As soon as he gets that warrant, he'll arrest him. So they hop aboard the steamer that's going to take them to the Suez, from Suez to Bombay, India. And they actually arrived 2 days ahead of schedule. And so when they get there, actually when they get to Egypt, they learn that Phileas has to get off the rail in order to get his passport stamp. So his thing is, I'm gonna get my passport stamp in all these locations, and that way I can provide proof that I hit everybody like I'm supposed to. So,
yeah, because he didn't have to get his passport stamps, but he wants proof that he was there.
Right. And as we Kari mentioned, it's not like he's sightseeing when he get off. He is just here for the ride to accomplish this 80-day task. That's it. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. He ain't trying to be social. He played whist on board wherever he is, and but minimal talking. That's it. So he's off to Bombay, and again, they arrive in India 2 days ahead of schedule, which is a good thing. They got time because that was a 13-day travel. And so, but on this journey, they're trying to get from Bombay to Calcutta. And I think this is the time when they purchase the elephant, because the is that where the track breaks off? Oops, hold on, I hit the mic. Is that where the track breaks off?
So they're on this train in India because they have gotten this route around the world from the paper. But all the journalists want to be like the first one with the story. So they've talked about this train line as if it's complete, thinking that, by the time our readers ride the train, it will be complete. It's not. So the train only it doesn't go to the end of the line because the end of the line don't even exist yet. The track hasn't been laid. So he got to get off, as Alexis said. And there's some point where he bribes a man for an elephant.
And that was a struggle because that man wasn't going to give up the elephant. It was a cultural thing, but he eventually got the elephant and even was able to pay the man to take him on this elephant journey he was going to Calcutta, from Bombay to Calcutta. And so on this journey to Calcutta, he also sees like a Hindu religious
place of worship.
Yeah, they're traveling. They got the deceased man, and then they have a woman on that. I guess they're taking it to the burial. It's kind of like a funeral
I thought this was the church you were talking about. So before then, they enter a church with shoes on.
Well, that is just Passepartout.
Oh, right. So that was before this, though, right? It's before.
It's kind of the same time. Right. It's before this. Yes. I'm sorry.
So just real quick, Passepartout enters maybe it's a Muslim place of worship, but you're not supposed to wear shoes. But he got on shoes.
As a Christian, he's a Christian in this Hindu worship house.
Oh, okay. And so he don't know about the shoe thing. So he wearing his shoes. Why he's in there, I really don't know. But he gets tackled to the ground by priests, and he fights them. And they get in a for real altercation because he don't know why he being tackled. And they you will respect this house of worship. Uh-huh. And then he runs away, but that's going to come back to bite him.
Without his shoes.
Yeah, fast forward, he in another religious area. And this time a man has died and his wife must be buried alive and burned alive next to him.
Yeah.
And everyone's drugged on hashish and other things. And she is also drugged so they can burn her alive. Put up a resistance.
Yeah. And so they see this, and their guide that's taking them by elephant, they see this and they're like, you know what? Fogg is like, we should save her because this doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So they make a plan.
So they get in their white savior bag real quick. And they talk about these cultures like they savages real quick. And it's done so playfully and casually, just so you know.
Uh-huh. And then they go and they set up a plan to try to get them. And then it turns out that Passepartout pretends to be not a ghost.
So they so a Passepartout, somehow Detective Fix is in this too, right?
No, he's not in it.
He's not. Okay, so just Passepartout and Phileas are hiding in the bushes and they we gonna steal her. I think it is Detective Fix.
No, it's another person. It's another person.
Yeah. Oh, okay, you're right. So some local somebody made it
else
to the area
So they got the guide, and then you got somebody else traveling
the guide
that wants to go along with him. So the guide is telling them everything that happens with this thing.
Yes.
So that's why.
And the guide is of the same background as the wife.
Yes.
Okay, so the guide is like, I'll help you because she's one of my people.
Yes.
So I don't want to see her get hurt. So they're hiding in the bushes before the ceremony because they're like, when are we going to sneak in to save her? All of a sudden, the husband's body stands up, picks up the woman who's drugged, and everybody in attendance like falls to their faces. They're like seeing the apparition. They're like, oh my goodness, the husband done got up and he dead. And the husband, the quote unquote husband, walks with the dead woman to where Phileas is, and they like, it's Passport 2 dressed in white. And Passport 2 is like, we got to get out of here.
And so
they start running and carrying the woman. The priests of the ceremony and the people figure out what happened because I think they find the body like wrapped in a potato sack or something. And so they start firing and shooting, but they get away. And the woman is beautiful and made civilized by her European education.
Yes. Exactly. So they have lost lots of hours on this journey, but Fogg feels good and he has no regret. And while Passport 2 is like, oh my God, we've lost so much time. We're off track now. We got to get back to... Fogg is like, yeah, we'll get there. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we have enough time. Calm down.
So they bring this woman along, and the plan is, okay, we're going to take her to Hong Kong where her people are so she can get off there. We'll just take her. She can come along with us on a journey until then. And so the next station is, let's see, they go from, let me get back to my little chart here. They go from Calcutta, because they arrive and they make it to the rail, and they go from Calcutta to Hong Kong with a stopover in Singapore. And this is where Passepartout and Fogg are arrested. And he's arrested for
and they're like, oh, the priests from the grave ceremony, they done caught up with us. But why would an English government care about the religious rights of these priests? They thinking they done got arrested for stealing the woman.
Yeah, they thought they got arrested, but actually it was for him being a Christian in a Hindu temple with shoes on.
And it was for fighting the priest.
No, it was. So I'm going to include that as well, but it absolutely had to do with being in a Hindu temple with his shoes on. He was to be punished for that. It was very disrespectful.
But not by the English government, right?
No, this is the Hindu people, like, whatever government setup they have there in Hong Kong is where he's being held accountable.
I'm so confused. Okay.
It is. I have to reread the book. I'm sorry. It's been a while. So he got to pay bail. He got to go to jail. But instead,
meanwhile, Fix is like, England controls Hong Kong and India, so I have to arrest him at one of these areas, and I can't get the warrant. He keeps waiting for this warrant.
Yes. So then he's like, the warrant ain't here yet, but Phileas Fogg, he just paid a bail and they get on the ship and be gone. They out. And that's that. They on 13 days, okay? 13 days. They headed to Yokohama, Japan. When they arrived there, so I think on this train ride is where not train ride, the steamer. This is where Fix kind of thinks about
revealing his plan.
Yeah, to Passepartout, because when he initially met Passepartout was kind of just telling him, yeah, me and my boss are traveling around the world. Goal is to get there in 80 days. I don't really believe that, but that's what he's doing. He rich, he could do it. And I'm going along to help him. He's like, yeah, that's my man. Fix is like, yeah, that's the man. He's the robber for sure. So now they've been talking on these journeys and he's gotten to know him. And he's like, I don't know if he's in on it, but I think it's time to reveal it to Passepartout what I'm doing, that I'm trying to get Fogg and make him accountable for the robbery. So they arrive in Japan. Ayuda's family has moved to Europe. So Fogg says, we might as well take her to Europe. That's what we're going back. And her family is there. We might as well take her back with us. And so this is the last chance for Fix to arrest Fogg. And he's missing this opportunity.
Yeah, he can't really arrest him in Japan, so he's missed his chance. But he's thinking he can get an ally in Passepartout, right?
Yep.
To help him so that when they get back to London, it'll all be ready for him to get arrested.
Yeah, and then somewhere in here, I think they actually missed their boat ride. And so he ends up renting a boat to Shanghai so that he can meet the boat in Yokohama. So that
yeah, this was when Passepartout temporarily joins like a circus. with long noses.
Oh no, that's not when he get left off though yet. Did he get? Oh, he did get left off. And
yeah, this is it.
Yeah, this is it.
So he got drugged, and did you say that part?
No, let's do it right now. So Fix decides he is going to tell Passepartout about Fogg, that he's a criminal, and here's my plan to catch him. Passepartout is like, no, my boss is a good man. You got the wrong guy. And so they're sitting in this bar drinking.
In China. So that's back in China because it's an opium den.
In Japan?
No, in China, because England was flooding China with opium.
Okay. So they're just sitting there and they're, enjoying themselves with spirits.
But they're not doing
and whatnot.
opium, but Fix is looking for an opportunity to drug. Why is he trying to drug Passepartout?
Because he realizes that Passepartout is not in with what he's trying to do. And
he likes his boss.
He likes his boss, and he's like, no.
He's not going to help.
I'm not helping you. So Fix drugs him, leaves him where he is. And what happened was the steamer was supposed to leave earlier than planned. And so Passepartout was supposed to get back to Fogg and let him know the train is leaving early. We got to get on it. But because he was slipped a Mickey by Fix, he didn't get back in time to tell him, and they missed the train. They missed the steamer. Right? Yeah. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
We're wrapping it up here. So he then has to rent a boat to meet the boat that's going to take him to the U.S. Right. They get there. And then Passepartout joins the circus because he has background experience. They're doing their last.
He got to make money. He has no money.
No money, no
he's
food.
Out of the country.
Yes, and he's out of the country. So he's like, oh, I could do this. And he learns that this traveling circus is going to the U.S. So he's like, well, I'm going to go with them. I can do some tricks and whatnot. So he joined the Long Noses. They did a performance. And then he get on the trip. And he head into the States, right?
So during their performance, they're making this pyramid out of noses, out of their noses.
Wait till we get to the U.S. That's when that happened.
Oh, it is?
It's too many stops in here. Go ahead and tell it. Go ahead and tell it.
No, you got it.
It's too many stops in here.
Is that right? No, it's fine. It's fine. Go ahead. Because now I'm confused. I was confused when we started, but now I'm just dumbfounded.
I thought
ahead.
They caught up in the U.S.
Sure.
Okay. Well, let's just say they caught up in the U.S. Okay. No, they were together by the time they reached the U.S.
So what I think happened is in Japan, there was like this circus ran by an American, and one of the acts was like this nose. Everybody was stuck up on each other's nose, and they made this really high pyramid that's like high as a building, and then the pyramid came collapsing because the person on the bottom had left a post, and it was Passepartout because he saw his boss in the audience. It was like, oh my goodness, boss, I had missed you. And then Phileas was like, hey, Passepartout, let's continue on our way. And he's like, great. And so then they like catch a boat to the U.S., but they missed their boat to the U.S. But somehow while they're on the water, the boat for the U.S. is passing them. And so they send out a distress signal and jump on the boat for the U.S. in the water. While they're in the water, they hop on the right boat.
That's
on a boat that's going to the U.S. and they take that to the U.S.
So when they get to San Francisco, so this is he getting his passport stamp and getting ready to get on the boat to the rail to New York City. They come across a political rally, right?
That is violent. There is violence everywhere. People is fighting in the street and screaming.
It's a duel going on. It's a duel.
Yeah.
And I don't know, did he step on somebody's toe because somebody got mad?
That. Right.
He stepped on somebody's toe.
We've lost our audience, but let's just continue with this book.
I'm sorry, y'all.
And what was the battle? What was the duel about? He was like, is it for a president? Because I know y'all be getting mad every 4 years when y'all got to choose a president. And they was like, no, this riot is for the justice of the peace. And that's a little commentary about American politics.
And then he hurt somebody, and that person got mad. This like Colonel somebody, he got mad because he stepped on his foot, and Passepartout, Fogg said, you know what? You done disrespected me, but when I get done with my journey, I'm going to come back and we're going to fight.
Yeah, exactly. He's like serious. It would be prudent for us to retire, said Fix, who was anxious that Mr. Fogg should not receive any injury, at least until they got back to London. If there was any question about England and all this, and we were recognized, I fear it would go hard with us. An English subject, began Mr. Fogg. He did not finish his sentence, for a terrific hubbub now arose on the terrace behind the flight of steps where they stood, and there was frantic shouts of "Hurrah for Mandy Boy! Hip, hip, hurrah!" It was a band of voters coming to the rescue of their allies and taking the camera-filled forces in flank. Mr. Fogg, Auda, and Fix found themselves between two fires. It was too late to escape. The torrent of men armed with loaded canes and sticks was irresistible. Phileas Fogg and Fix were roughly hustled in their attempts to protect their fair companion. The former, as cool as ever, tried to defend himself with the weapons which nature has placed at the end of every Englishman's arm, but in vain. A big brawny fellow with a red beard, flushed face, and broad shoulders, who seemed to be the chief of the band, raised his clenched fist to strike Mr. Fogg, whom he would have given a crushing blow, had not Fix rushed in and received it in his stead. An enormous bruise immediately made its appearance under the detective's silk hat, which was completely smashed in. "Yankee!" exclaimed Mr. Fogg, darting a contemptuous look at the ruffian. "Englishman!" returned the other. "We will meet again." "When you please." "What is your name?" "Phileas Fogg." "And yours?" "Colonel Stump Proctor." The human tide now swept by after overturning Fix, who speedily got upon his feet again, though with tattered clothes. Happily, he was not seriously hurt. His traveling overcoat was divided into two unequal parts, and his trousers resembled those of certain Indians, which fit less compactly than they are easy to put on. Auda had escaped unharmed, and Fix alone bore marks of the fray in his black and blue bruise. "Thanks," said Mr. Fogg to the detective as soon as they were out of the crowd. "No thanks are necessary," replied Fix, "but let us go." "Where?" "To a tailor's." Such a visit was indeed opportune. The clothing of both Mr. Fogg and Fix was in rags, as if they had themselves been actively engaged in the contest between Cammerfield and Mandy Boy. An hour after, they were once more suitably attired and without a return to the International Hotel. Passepartout was waiting for his master, armed with half a dozen six-barreled revolvers. When he perceived Fix, he knit his brows, but Auda having, in a few words, told him of their adventure, his countenance resumed its placid expression. Fix, evidently, was no longer an enemy, but an ally. He was faithfully keeping his word. Dinner over, the coach which was to convey the passengers and their luggage to the station drew up to the door. As he was getting in, Mr. Fogg said to Fix, "You have not seen this Colonel Proctor again?" "No. I will have come back to America to find him," said Phileas Fogg calmly. "It would not be right for an Englishman to permit himself to be treated in that way without retaliation." The detective smiled but did not reply. It was clear that Mr. Fogg was one of those Englishmen who, while they do not tolerate dueling at home, fight abroad when their honor is attacked.
It was like, don't worry, because I will be back. But this same gentleman also got on the rail that they were taking to New York City, so he would later see them. So on this,
and they like work it out or something, right?
Well, no, they got caught up by the Sioux Indians, and the Sioux Indians was beating them up, and he got hurt in there. So he, kind of left him hurt. Okay, Passepartout in this thing got he got kidnapped by the Sioux, and so Fogg goes to get him. He chases them down, gets them, and then comes back, and they make it on time to the
New York,
to their next trip. All right. Now, last leg of the trip, New York to London. This one, a whole bunch of stuff come up where just a lot of happenings come up.
That's this book.
But this is the last leg of the trip, and he ended up kind of commandeering somebody's boat. He paid for it. He paid way too much for it.
Oh, this is my favorite part. Yeah.
Oh, please, then go for it.
So basically, he asked a man if he can take him to London, and the man is like, no, because I'm not going to London. He's like, I'll pay you $1 gajillion. And the man said, did you not hear me? I'm not going to London. So Phileas is like, okay, well, can Passepartout and I and this lady who I'm dragging all over the world from India, can we go wherever you're going? And the man's like, you want to go wherever we're going? He's like, yeah, and I'll pay you a whole bunch of money. So this whole trip, he's been paying his problems away.
Mm-hmm.
And he still has money to pay off his problems. And so the captain is like, fine, you can go where we're going. So once they get on the boat, Phileas starts paying the crew and saying, if y'all form a mutiny and take this boat to London, you can have some more money. And they're like, great and sure. And so they lock the captain in a room and they head for London. Well, this boat ain't for London. So they running out of fuel. So Phileas knocks on the captain's cabin door and is like, hey, we know we orchestrated a mutiny, but we just want to let you know we'll buy this boat from you. And he's like, I told you I want to sell my boat. He's like, maybe you do, because we going to burn everything in it for fuel. So eventually the captain is like cool with that. I forget why. And they start ripping up
no choice.
They start ripping up the deck and burning everything to make it into the London port. But this is still a good man, Phileas Fogg. I want you to know.
Still a
That's
good
how the
man.
book is painting him.
And so, all right, so we make it to the London port and they get arrested, y'all. They get arrested.
For bank robbery.
And they take
they're late. They're a whole day late.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like, so he's like dejected.
Until after they leave, are they a whole day late? They get arrested.
They have like 10 minutes.
Yeah, to make last train to get back to where they need to be.
Yeah.
So he gets arrested, and I think they're in jail overnight or something. So they lose some time there, and they finally they find out he's not the robber. So of course
the
he
robber
gets
was
released.
already arrested. You free to go. Ooh, trash.
So Fix is looking like a fool, of course, and then they head back, and then they realize, good grief, we are a day.
No. Then they realize Phileas and the woman from India realize that they're in love, and so they're like, let's get married, because he's like, would you marry me?
She's like, happen until they get to the house.
She's like, yes, I'll marry you. I've loved you since I've seen you. And so he's like, Passepartout, go to the church and get the documents.
Oh,
and
they
so
stopped for that. They delayed, knowing they don't have a lot of time. Go ahead. Yeah, that's happening.
Wait, what happened?
What you said, but they're like stopping, knowing they don't have a lot of time to get married. He runs to the church and finds out, what does he find out, Kari?
That they're actually a day early because they gained a day by traveling east. It's very contrived and nonsensical. So Passepartout runs back to his master and is like, you have 10 minutes to get to the club. You're actually a day early. You can still make it.
And he makes it. The end. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
We're back, Kari. Now that we've struggled through that, I struggled through. I thank you for your support. would you recommend this book?
If you want to know what it feels like to be inebriated without ever drinking, you should read this book because it is all over the place. It is topsy-turvy, okay? And then at the end of the book, there is one cute line where it's like, what was this book about? It was about nothing. What did Phileas Fogg gain? He gained a beautiful wife. And isn't that worth traveling around the world for? No! No, Jewel, it's not. So would I recommend this book? It's silly. I mean, I think this is a great book for kids if you're trying to put them to sleep, or adults. Anybody you want to go to sleep, you should read this to them because they're going to stop trying to pay attention to, he did what now and where are they? So that's great. So if you want to go to sleep, then please read this. If you want to put anyone else to sleep, read this to them. Otherwise, don't read this. Just don't. I don't know why you would. And that's my verdict. What about you, Alexis? Would you recommend this book? Did you enjoy it?
I would. It was hilarious.
Name something that was hilarious in this book.
All the interactions with Passepartout.
You know, when he stood up as the husband, the dead husband carrying the wife, and they like, I mean, it's casually racist. There's definitely colonialism mentioned, and not so, it's, you know, in endearing terms, like, look at how we've made this place civilized because these were savages. And all of that, it was written over a century ago, a century and like a quarter.
Yeah.
By a French man. Say it again.
1872.
I mean, 1872. So one thing I will say, at the there's an epilogue where the editor is like, you know, we don't think we're writing with bias intentionally, of course, nowadays, but someone who's going to read our work years later, the work we recreate right now, will see the biases we're putting in it. Mm-hmm. So there is room for forgiveness if you want. It is innocent, right? It's like an innocent little romp. I changed my verdict. Read it. Fine. Okay, sorry. Go back to yours. Sorry.
Anything with Passepartout, when Phileas Fogg said, you know what? I can't do this right now, but I will come back after my trip and we can fight. I love that the most. The absolute most. Because that was so ridiculous. Silly. He was like, you know what? I don't have time for you right now. I got to go, but I will be back to whoop your tail.
He was like, how I know you're going to come back? I'm a man of my word.
I'm a man of my word. I will be right back as soon as I can. He only had like 40,000 pounds, really. He was rich, though, but he only had 40. He took 20, and the last 20 he was going to give if he lost the bet, but he ended up winning out. So I like the story. I like the adventures they had. That's my verdict. I would recommend it. It's a lighthearted book, and it made me laugh and release me from stressors. I love to
At
laugh.
the end of this book, my eyes hurt from rolling so much. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what it is. But you know, that's what we got. That's what we got.
It was like if you read what is it, The Confederacy of Dunces, and you were like, this is crass, this is gross. Maybe this will work. Because Confederacy is crass. And this is really innocent.
Yeah, definitely. This is not at all Confederacy of Dunces, okay?
Because it's not about anything either. Where
it's
Confederacy,
not.
Like, you can pull a message out of that if you want.
You could if you wanted to. Yikes.
Not out of this one.
No, this is just about 80 days and hurrying up and doing it. That's it.
You think it's like a beach read? Something
Definitely.
that you could read with a cat? I agree. Yep. You know what? I'm changing this. I wholeheartedly recommend this book if you're somewhere just hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. You know, easy, light read. You don't want no mess? No mess.
You want to relax?
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely have a drink. You'll laugh harder. It would be definitely, it would be more fun because it's just stupid. It's absolutely insane.
That's it. It's just stupid, and that's fine.
It's lighthearted. But that's it. That's what I think. I would recommend it.
I love it. Okay, what are we reading next week, Alexis?
I think Jurassic Park.
Yes! Part 1.
Yeah. So
I'm really excited.
Oh, I see. I mean, hands
How do you
in the
feel?
Air. I am excited, but I took a little dip into it, and it's very heavy scientific, so it was hard for me to start. I'm going to have to go and get that audio recording and start with it because I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with it. So
that's a good point. I remember trying to read Congo when I was younger, and I was like, what do these words mean? So audiobooks help get you into the story and get you going, and then you can go back to the written word if you so choose. I like that idea. I've done that before. Okay, well, thank you all for listening to Lit Society. We'll see you next Thursday. Lit Society is brought to you by Alexis Honoria and Kari Herrera. Support the cause by leaving a 5-star review for our show on Apple Podcasts, along with a comment about why you absolutely love us. If you've enjoyed what you've just heard, tell a friend about Lit Society. Visit litsocietypod.com for show notes, this month's book list, and to sign up for our amazing email newsletter. And until next time, guys,
read something.